Welcome. It's story time. Cozy up, turn down the lights, and settle into wind down. Whether it's a classic tale, a forgotten piece of history, or a lesser-known gem, you're in for an relaxing escape. So grab a blanket and let the stories take you away. Don't forget to subscribe for your next cozy adventure. Will Sommers, the man who perfected the art of talking smack to a man who could literally have him executed on a whim. Quite the life goal. Imagine being hired to roast King Henry VIII, a man known for having 6 wives, an ever-expanding waistline and a fondness for chopping off heads when his breakfast wasn't to his liking. And yet, there stood Will Sommers, armed with nothing more than his wit, his jingly hat, and what can only be described as a recklessly short life expectancy. Let's start at the beginning, or rather at a point in history so vague we might as well be making it up. Sommers' origins are as murky as Henry's excuses for dumping a wife. Was he a peasant? A commoner? Maybe he was plucked out of obscurity after making one too many clever remarks at a local tavern. The history books aren't sure, but one day he found himself in the king's court, where his job was to make everyone laugh. Except, in the way that didn't result in his head rolling across the floor. Quite the balancing act. Now, being Henry VIII's Jester wasn't just about telling knock-knock jokes or juggling live chickens. No, Will Sommers had the rarest of all privileges in the royal court, the freedom to say what he thought to anyone, including the man who treated marriage vows like suggestions. You see, in an era where telling the king he looked a bit bloated could earn you a one-way trip to the Tower, Will had free rein to crack wise about Henry's eating habits, his political blunders, and the revolving door of queens. And Sommers didn't hold back. Take, for example, his famous jab at Cardinal Wolsey. Now, Wolsey wasn't just any old minister. He was King Henry's right-hand man, the kind of guy who probably had a reserved sign at the throne room door. Wolsey, always keen on reminding everyone of his importance, was going on about his wealth and power. Enter Will, stage left, with a quip that survived centuries. If you were to die, the devil would be afraid to take you for fear of losing his place. Boom! Roasted. I can only imagine Wolsey making a mental note to add "Have Will Sommers exiled" to his to-do list. Of course, Sommers wasn't just an equal opportunity roaster. He had his softer side too, using humour to deflate tense situations or make fun of his own peculiar position, like being the one person in the entire kingdom who could sass the king without getting his limbs rearranged. His legacy, much like his jokes, has stood the test of time. Plays, novels, even films have depicted the legendary Jester who danced through the minefield of Tudor politics, armed only with a sharp tongue. Will Sommers may be gone, but his wit lingers on, a reminder that, every now and then, it pays to have the guts to laugh in the face of authority, especially if you're wearing a silly hat while doing it. Welcome to Repository of Stories, your hub for classic tales, short stories, historical facts, and lesser-known gems. If you love uncovering fascinating narratives from all corners of history and literature, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for your next great story.